Hello everyone, welcome back to Maverick channel. If you're new to this channel, we cover a lot of crypto content, all the way from NFTs to the metaverse to cryptocurrencies, because eventually we have to tie how all these things come in together. So today we're going to look at decentralized autonomous organizations. These things can replace governments. These things can replace global voting or global interaction, employment. They can replace so many things, including the whole education industry, but that I'll cover in another video. So today guys, I want to talk about DAOs, how they were started, and how you can make your own. So guys, stay tuned for the whole video. First of all, what we have to understand is what is a government before we go into the micro understanding of what this is. So a government is a system or group of people governing an organized community, generally a state. In the case of its broad associative definition, government normally consists of legislative, executive and judiciary. So guys, there's a lot of articles that you can read about governments and DAOs and all these things, but I want to summarize for you in sort of a practical sense of what I've experienced myself. But let's first look at what has been written down and also get a brief understanding of what this is. So a decentralized autonomous organization, sometimes called a decentralized autonomous corporation, but I think you should stick to DAO for now, is an organization constructed by rules encoded as a computer program that is often transparent, controlled by the organization's members, and not influenced by central government. So in general terms, DAOs are member-owned communities without centralized leadership. A DAO's financial transaction records and program rules are maintained on a blockchain. The precise legal status of this business organization is unclear. Exactly, because there's a lot of moving parts. So a well-known example intended for venture capital funding was the DAO, okay, which amassed $3.6 million in Ethereum. Ethereum's mining reward, then worth more than 70 million in May 2016, and was hacked and drained of $50 million in cryptocurrencies weeks later, because obviously exploits of this code. The hack was reversed in the following weeks, hard fork, and the money restored via hard fork of the Ethereum blockchain. Most Ethereum miners and clients switched to the new fork while the original chain became Ethereum Classic. So guys, if you're out there, Ethereum, there's Ethereum, if you've heard of Ethereum. So the main Ethereum chain was Ethereum Classic. Because of this hack, instead of, I feel like these people should have owned to their mistake and then figured out another way to do it. But instead what they did, they split the chain, hence creating two forms of value, the hacked tokens and the tokens they have access to in the new chain, which became Ethereum. And fast forward today, there's been a lot of scalability proposals for the Ethereum chain. And scaled to today, it has split into, well, it has the consensus layer and the execution layer, which is one of them is called the Beacon chain. There's just a lot going on, and they're telling us it's all going to merge into one chain. But guys, that's not, well, it ties into the video, because that's essentially how the DAO was created. Ethereum formed because of that fork from the DAO. It's a bit controversial. I take the whole thing personally in a strange way, because I feel like there's a lot of transparency that's not existing as far as the two Ethereum chains that are constantly existing. But hey guys, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. That's how the DAO was formed, and the DAO can really help us in governance things. So guys, before, there's a lot of articles you can read about DAOs. Maybe here we can look at a small use case of the DAO. For example, a decentralized autonomous organization, which is a DAO, is a human-created organization that functions, guys, just like governments, how they started, without a central authority controlling the decision-making process. So members or citizens of a DAO vote according to mutually agreed upon rules using secure digital procedures. Their vote is stored on a permanent ledger of records. Members oftentimes receive rewards of their work on behalf of the entire group of people. This can be done in cryptocurrencies. So rewards can come in the form of cryptocurrencies and investments, or in a partial ownership of an application, digital property. So you go into NFTs, land, all kinds of things. Or real-world objective of establishing the DAO. So decentralized autonomous organizations provide incentives for members to increase their participation and constructive activism in achieving the purpose of organization. Now, this article also goes into Taoism and connecting to nature. That's a philosophical breakdown and how it ties into the DAO itself. So essentially, guys, if you look at the basic formation of a government structure, you had people living in some village somewhere. They said, hey, instead of competing against each other, let's create a sort of a grouped understanding of where we are. So a group of people will maintain the security, and they have to answer, maybe they'll have to answer to the village. And then maybe eventually you can't you can't get everyone from that community. So you're like, okay, a bunch of community members, they'll have to hear what these people in charge of security are doing and what they're up to. Okay, then you get another bunch of people in charge of storing food, and they have to also answer to the committee, you know, what have we been doing, sort of going into auditing, I know, justifying what you've been doing, transparency, right? So eventually those scale that into today, and you have governments that are so massive because we have technological improvement. So you have governments with massive armies, you have governments in charge of currencies in terms of fiat. The money we use is no longer backed by gold and or other valuable assets. So we have money that's constantly printed. So we have governments today with police government, the judicial system. So all these are sort of answerable. If you're in a particular sector of the economy and you're in charge of that sector, there's someone you're answerable to. You're answerable to the community through someone who presumably has a better understanding. So that creates that third party. So guys, if that's a bad explanation of this, someone who has studied these topics obviously will have a better explanation of the social aspect of this. But you get the idea. Is that so? The DAOs are that central body that ensure that security and make sure both players on both sides are playing properly. Now, I'm going to show you this graphical interface. I think it will be easier to show you this first before we get into, so you have a basic understanding. So some of these frequently asked questions. So this is an application, my bad, that's called Snapshot. So it provides for you an interface where you can create an environment so that you can share with a common goal. Essentially, you can create an environment with a bunch of people with a common goal. So the whole point of a decentralized organization, we shall use an example of, you can see PancakeSwap, Uniswap, ENS domains, and you can see the number of people that are part of these communities. They're growing. When you read these articles, you can learn that there's over 5,000 DAOs that have been created. And these are the ones we know about. These are the registered ones. For example, you can see 4,000 DAOs, and this number is accelerating. For example, CityDAO is an example of a DAO created to democratize control over real estate. Now, guys, we have DAOs here, as you can see here. Give me 1 second. So you can see the ENS domain. This is Ethereum name service. There's things like the DeFi platforms like Aave, SushiSwap, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and then there's Metaverse. You can even load more. There's Decentraland, which is arguably the biggest metaverse in the decentralized world. You have 18,000 members in here. So these members, if they hold mana tokens or the land, they can just come use this interface. You click here, you can see how many people are in this DAO, so you can see how powerful it is. And there's a proposal here which can be implemented by, which can be set out by pretty much anyone. Some organizations say, hey, if you have these NFTs or this amount of tokens, then you can put across a proposal. If you have this amount of tokens, but usually anyone can vote, but to put through a proposal, I guess to prevent things like spamming, then you have to put a limit. So, you know, such that the person that writes the proposal is serious. So Decentral comedy promo at Skankfest Vegas backstage, access to Skankfest for DCL Decentral. So someone proposed this, and you know, they put their preposition, whatever, abstract, what they're gonna do. And sometimes people are raising money through these things. Hey, we're like, if the DAO can help us raise $100,000, and then people can vote yes or no. This is all transparent. It's transparent. No one can change it because it's running on immutable smart contracts. And this is sort of an interface. This is some of the technologies that people have created to help us navigate this. So you can connect this with your Web3 wallet. So Web2 is basically Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of social media, Facebook, and other social interactions or websites. Web3 is where you add a financial aspect to your platform. So guys, you can connect your wallet, you can join a DAO, and then click on it, and then you can vote on proposals. So that's what you can, so there's interfaces like this where if you have an idea, you have a community, you can just go into the interface and do that. So guys, of course, you can read the frequently asked questions. You can read their documents to understand better the technical aspect of this. Other things you can implement, for example, register with an ENS domain. If you don't have an Ethereum name service, there are other alternatives. You learn about subspaces, their settings, you get verified, what this all means. Add a custom domain instead, add a skin, special roles, migrate your space to the Ethereum name service, proposals, strategies, plugins, networks, what kind of networks are they using, add a network, make a pull request on this file. So you can navigate all these things like GraphQL, API, webhooks. So this goes into the technical aspect of it. Snapshot.js, they're using Gnosis. So they go into the technical aspect of it, but at the interface, you can actually create your own interface and bootstrap and start. But of course, guys, there's people that have created these DAOs, they've embedded themselves here. There are more details about this. And if you're serious about creating your own decentralized autonomous organization, then obviously you should be onto these documents and reading them. And that's why I'm going to include everything in the description of this video. Now, guys, before we conclude this video, that little saga that we talked about at the beginning of the video, where you had the DAO forming that fork that led to the fork, hence the new Ethereum chain and the old Ethereum, the original chain, which was Ethereum Classic, and leading to the new chain, which is Ethereum, which is now splitting into another chain, 2 chains, right? So that Ethereum Classic, because a lot of people don't support the proof of stake, or rather that proof of work infrastructure that we're using to mine Ethereum, is just going to be left redundant because it's different infrastructure for mining a proof of stake Ethereum. So you get OGs like Unpool that have existed. They mine Bitcoin, they mine Ethereum, so they've grown a massive business, and they use, these are ASIC miners. Bitmain is one of the largest sellers of hardware miners in the world. So these are Bitmain miners, and you can use these, they're usually application specific integrated circuits, and you can use this to mine Bitcoin. You can also use these to mine other proof of work chains. So now that Ethereum is moving to proof of stake, these Ant miners have invested, Antpool has invested $10 million. Antpool supports Ethereum Classic ecosystem, $10 million investment. So a lot of people are speculating that the Ethereum Classic chain might gain a lot of traction, increase in value, because the miners will want to go there to gain the profit. So that's something you might look at if you want to sort of speculate, and you're looking at what currencies you might want to buy. And of course, this other article goes into the whole idea of Web3, guys. I'm going to link this article as well. I might also cover it again tomorrow. So market size USD, I'm not going to read all this. I'm just bringing to you the value proposition of this as we move forward. Web3 that ties into autonomous organization, that ties into these DAOs that we talked about, the metaverse, encapsulation of these smart contracts and this technology together so we can leverage it actually in the real world. So guys, we're looking at a market that might grow to billions and billions of dollars, and setting yourself up to learn how these things work today, because we're in the bear market, the best time to learn. You might learn a tremendous amount of things. So guys, there's a lot you understand from this. You can read their documents. For example, Snapshot, this is called snapshot.org. I'm going to link all these articles here, and then you can also look through their frequently asked questions, and you can also test by voting on some of these to see how the whole thing works, guys. Alright guys, I really hope you learned something, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.